1 week before his death, Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's most legendary samurai, a man who survived more than 60 lethal duels, wrote down 21 final rules. It wasn't a combat manual. It wasn't strategy. It was a guide for how to live. And among those 21 rules, there was one so simple that most people believe they already understand it, yet so difficult that almost no one can follow it for even a single day. Live without attachment. At first, it sounds harmless, almost peaceful, but Musashi wasn't talking about giving up possessions. He wasn't preaching emotional numbness or isolation. He was pointing at something far more dangerous. Attachment to people. Attachment to approval. Attachment to the version of yourself that exists only because others accept it. This kind of attachment doesn't destroy you suddenly. It drains you slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you've been living a life that isn't yours. This is the story of Aiden. He was 23 years old, not lazy, not irresponsible, just trapped. Trapped by friendships that looked harmless but consumed his future. Trapped by the constant need to show up, to reply, to please. Trapped by the fear of being judged, replaced, or forgotten. And everything began to change on an ordinary afternoon, inside a silent public library, when a forgotten book, small, worn, and unassuming, placed Musashi's hardest rule directly into his hands. Aiden's life looked normal from the outside. He had a job, he paid his bills, he showed up when people called, but beneath that routine, something was quietly suffocating him. He came from a simple family, a father who worked in a factory, a mother who spent her days selling, standing on her feet, doing her best. Honest people, hardworking people, and Aiden knew something they never said out loud. One day, they would grow old, bills would pile up, health would weaken, dignity would become fragile. He wanted to build something better for them, a future without fear. Yet every day, he felt completely frozen. He woke up early and went to work, an administrative job that paid just enough to survive, but led nowhere. After work, his phone never stayed silent. Let's grab a drink. Come over, we're watching the game. We're going out tonight. You in? And Aiden always said yes, not because he wanted to, but because he was terrified of disappointing people, terrified of being the one who stopped showing up, terrified of becoming irrelevant. His friends fell into two groups. The first had money, children of business owners, executives, people whose futures were already secured. They traveled, they spent freely, they lived without thinking about tomorrow. Aiden tried to keep up. He spent money he didn't have. He pretended everything was fine, because he didn't want to be seen as the poor one. The second group had no money and no ambition. They lived day to day. Work, get paid, spend, repeat. Relax, they told him. Life is short. Why stress so much? And again, Aiden agreed. Not because it felt right, but because he was afraid of being judged, afraid of being different, afraid of being alone. He replied to every message, accepted every invitation, showed up everywhere. And when there was finally time to focus, to read, to study, to plan something meaningful, his mind was empty, not from work, but from the exhaustion of trying to please everyone. That was the prison. No bars, no locks, just invisible expectations and his fear of breaking them. One Saturday afternoon, Aiden made a quiet decision. Today, I'm going to focus. No distractions, no excuse. He grabbed his laptop and walked to the public library near his home. It was calm, silent, the kind of place where time seemed to slow down, exactly what he needed. He opened an online course he had bought months earlier, a course he had already started 3 times and never finished. There was always something more urgent, someone who needed him, somewhere he had to be. Today was supposed to be different. 10 minutes passed. Aiden reached for his phone. Just a quick look. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. 30 minutes disappeared without him noticing. That's when something caught his eye. On the table next to him sat a small black book. The cover was worn, but carefully kept. It looked old, intentional, out of place in a world of screens and noise. Aiden glanced around. No one was there. Someone must have forgotten it. He pulled the book closer. Gold letters were embossed on the cover. Dokudo, the way of walking alone. He had never heard of it. Curious, he opened the first page. Do not cling to excessive desires. Do not depend on others. Do not get attached to anything, not even life. Aiden frowned. This wasn't motivational. It wasn't comforting. It was blunt, cold, almost confrontational. Each sentence landed like a punch, no explanation, no softening. And somehow, every line felt personal. So personal that Aiden didn't notice someone standing beside him. "You found my book?" He startled and looked up. A young Asian woman stood there, holding a cup of coffee, straight black hair, simple glasses, a calm, steady gaze. "Sorry," Aiden said quickly, closing the book. "I thought someone had left it." She smiled slightly. "I did. I went to get coffee and forgot it." He hesitated, then handed it back. "That's a heavy book." She sat down across from him. "It is," she said. Musashi doesn't soften his words. "Musashi?" Aiden asked. Asterisk. "Miyamoto Musashi," she replied. "He wrote this a week before he died. 21 rules for how to live." Aiden paused. "And does it actually work?" She smiled again, this time more honestly. "I'm trying." Something in her tone made him believe her. "And why are you reading it?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "Because I was trapped," she said, "by expectations, by approval, by trying to be who others wanted me to be." Aiden felt a chill. That was exactly how he felt. She extended her hand. "My name is Hana." "Aiden." They shook hands, and without realizing it, in that quiet library, with a forgotten book between them, Aiden's life began to shift. Aiden and Hana stayed in the library far longer than either of them expected. They didn't talk loudly. They didn't rush. They talked about the book, about Musashi, about the idea of detachment and why it felt so uncomfortable. "Do you know what he meant when he wrote, 'Do not depend on others'?" Hana asked. Aiden shook his head. "He wasn't telling people to be cold," she said. "He wasn't saying you should have no friends, no love, no relationships." "Then what was he saying?" Aiden asked. She leaned back slightly. "He meant this," she said. "Don't build your identity on other people's approval. Don't let their opinions decide who you are. And don't depend emotionally on anyone to feel complete." Aiden stayed silent. That hit too close. "But how do you even do that?" he finally asked. "It sounds impossible." "You start small," Hana replied. "You stop saying yes to everything. You stop reshaping yourself just to fit in. You start making decisions based on what you want, not what others expect." Aiden frowned. "And what if people leave?" Hana didn't hesitate. "Then they were never your people." The words landed hard. Aiden had always believed that friendship meant always being available, always showing up, always sacrificing, but maybe real connection wasn't built on obligation. Maybe it was built on respect. Hana picked up the book and gently slid it toward him. "Do you want to borrow it?" Aiden looked down at it, surprised. "Are you serious?" "I am," she said. "I think you need it more than I do right now." He took the book carefully, almost reverently. "I'll take good care of it." "I know." Before leaving, Hana wrote her number on a small piece of paper. "If you have questions," she said, "or if you want to talk about the book, call me." Aiden nodded. "Thank you, Hana." She smiled once more and walked out of the library. Aiden stayed seated, staring at the book in his hands. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about who needed him, who might be disappointed, or who might disappear. He was thinking about one thing only: what would my life look like if I stopped living in fear of being alone? In the weeks that followed, Aiden didn't just read the book. He studied it. He reread the same lines over and over, writing notes in the margins, pausing after every sentence. Not because the words were complex, but because they were uncomfortable. They demanded action. So Aiden started small. When his phone lit up on a weekday night, "Let's go out. Come over. Just one drink." He did something he had never done before. He said no. No long explanations. No dramatic excuses. No guilt-filled apologies. Just, "I can't tonight." At first, people were confused. "Are you okay? What's wrong with you lately? Are you turning into a boring guy now?" Aiden felt the familiar pressure rising in his chest, the urge to fix it, to explain himself, to make them comfortable again. Then he remembered the book. Do not depend on others. Do not cling to excessive desires. So he took a breath and said, "I'm focusing on other things right now." Some people understood, others slowly stopped calling, and something unexpected happened. Aiden felt relief. For the first time, he wasn't lying to himself. The hours he reclaimed didn't magically turn him into a different person, but they gave him space. Space to think, to read, to plan. He returned to an idea he had carried for years, a small digital consulting service for local businesses. Before, It had stayed on paper. There was never time. Now, there was. Progress was slow, messy, uncomfortable, but it was real. And every time Aiden said no to something that drained him, he was quietly saying yes to the life he actually wanted. As Aiden's life slowly began to shift, so did his connection with Hannah. They started meeting regularly, sometimes for coffee, sometimes at the library, sometimes just walking through quiet parks, talking without urgency. There was something different about being with her. Hannah wasn't trying to impress him. She didn't perform. She didn't chase approval. She was simply herself. And that made Aiden realize how rare that was. Not because she was perfect, but because she was honest. One afternoon, as they walked beneath tall trees, Aiden finally asked, "How did you learn all of this?" Hannah didn't answer right away. "My grandparents raised me," she said eventually. "My parents died when I was a child. A car accident." Aiden stopped walking. "I'm really sorry." She gave a small, calm smile. "It was a long time ago. I don't remember them very well." He hesitated. "Are your grandparents Japanese?" "Yes," she said. "They moved to the United States in the 80s. They brought their culture with them. Books, habits, discipline." "And Musashi?" Aiden asked. "Did they teach you about him?" "Not directly," Hannah replied. "But they live by those principles, especially my grandfather." Aiden felt a quiet respect. "I'd like to meet them," he said, surprising himself. Hannah looked at him, a spark in her eyes. "Then come have dinner with us this weekend." He blinked. "Seriously? Seriously, they'll like you." As they continued walking, Aiden noticed something else. With Hannah, there was no pressure to become someone else, no fear of being too much or not enough. They supported each other, but they didn't cling. And for the first time, Aiden experienced something new, a connection that didn't imprison him. Saturday night arrived faster than Aiden expected. He felt nervous in a way he hadn't felt in years, not anxious, but aware. Hannah's grandparents' house stood quietly on a calm street, simple, clean, orderly. At the entrance, a small Zen garden rested in silence, carefully trimmed bonsai trees, every stone placed with intention. Nothing was excessive, nothing was missing. Hannah opened the door and called out, "Oji-san, Oba-san, I'm home." An elderly couple appeared. Her grandfather stood tall despite his age, white hair neatly cut, posture straight. His presence was calm but unyielding. "This is Aiden," Hannah said. The old man extended his hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Akira." Her grandmother bowed gently. "And I'm Sakura. Welcome." Dinner was simple. Rice, miso soup, grilled fish. No noise, no screens, just conversation about work, about life, about how Aiden and Hannah met. After the meal, Akira poured green tea for everyone and sat down. "Hannah told me you're reading Dokudo," he said. "I am," Aiden replied. "She lent it to me." Akira nodded. "And what do you think?" Aiden paused. "It's heavy," he said honestly. "Direct. And frightening." "Frightening?" Akira asked. "Yes, especially the part about not depending on others. How can anyone live like that?" Akira smiled. "You're asking the wrong question." Aiden frowned. "The question isn't, how does someone live like this?" Akira continued. "The question is, how does someone live without it?" Sakura spoke softly. "How many decisions do you make each day thinking about what others will think?" Aiden didn't answer. He already knew. "Musashi wasn't telling you to abandon people," Akira said. "He was saying don't let people abandon you." Aiden leaned forward. "When you live to please others," Akira continued, "you lose yourself. You become a filtered version. Acceptable, safe, but fake. And then tell me," he asked gently, "who do people really love you? Or the version you created?" The words echoed in Aiden's chest. Sakura placed her hand over his. "Detachment isn't about not loving," she said. "It's about loving without losing yourself." Akira nodded. "Musashi chose solitude not because he hated people," he said, "but because his path demanded clarity. No distractions, no compromise." Aiden swallowed. "But I don't want to live alone." "And you don't have to," Hannah said. "Dokudo isn't a command, it's a mirror." Akira smiled. "The lesson isn't to live alone," he said. "It's to stop living in fear of being alone. Because when you fear loneliness, you accept any company, and that slowly destroys you." Aiden felt a tightness in his throat. For the first time, he understood. Before Aiden left that night, Akira spoke once more. There is a line in Dokudo, he said calmly, that most people misunderstand. Do not try to have everything. Akira looked at Aiden. We live in a culture that teaches the opposite, he continued. More money, more comfort, more approval, more attention, more of everything. But Musashi understood something most people never do. On the battlefield, a samurai who carries too much dies first. Too many weapons, too much armor, too many unnecessary possessions. He becomes slow, heavy, predictable. Life works the same way, Akira said. Every attachment becomes a weakness. If you are attached to approval, criticism will paralyze you. If you are attached to comfort, any challenge will terrify you. If you are attached to someone to feel whole, you become a hostage to their choices. Sakura added softly, the more you need something, the easier it is for the world to control you. Aiden felt the weight of those words. He thought about how often a single message could ruin his mood, how a missed invitation made him anxious, how one disapproving look could change his decisions. That was the cost. Not money, not effort, freedom. Akira leaned forward. That is why Musashi wrote, do not get attached to anything, not even life. Not because he didn't value life, he said, but because when you are no longer afraid to lose, you cannot be manipulated. Aiden understood now. Detachment wasn't emptiness. It was armor. The fewer chains you carry, the harder you are to control. That night, as Aiden walked home, the world felt different. Nothing had changed on the outside, but inside, something had loosened. For the first time, he wasn't asking, how do I keep everyone? He was asking something else. What am I willing to let go of? To finally be free. Change didn't arrive with noise or celebration. It arrived quietly. In the months that followed, Aiden began to live differently, not dramatically, not angrily, and not out of resentment. He simply walked away from what drained him. He stopped responding to every message immediately. He stopped accepting invitations out of guilt. He stopped explaining himself to people who never listened. Some friendships faded. Some people complained. But the ones who truly mattered stayed. And something surprising happened. They respected him more. Because when Aiden said yes now, it meant something. It wasn't obligation. It was choice. With the time and energy he reclaimed, Aiden focused fully on his work. He launched the digital consulting service he had postponed for years. At first, the projects were small, $500, $1,000, but he delivered with care and precision. Clients returned. They recommended him to others. Within 6 months, he was earning more than he ever had at his job. So he resigned, not out of rebellion, but out of clarity. For the first time, he felt in control of his own direction. His relationship with Hana deepened as well, naturally. No pressure, no expectations, no emotional dependence. They supported each other, but neither used the other as a crutch. And because of that, everything felt lighter, more honest, more real. A year after the day he found that forgotten book, Aiden did something that once felt impossible. He helped his parents financially. He secured better health insurance for them. He renovated their home, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but out of love, because he wanted to. Aiden hadn't become detached from life. He had finally become present in it. One evening, Aiden invited Hana to dinner. Nothing extravagant, just a quiet restaurant they both liked. Simple. Intentional. Afterward, they walked through the nearby park, the same place where so many of their conversations had unfolded without pressure or expectation. Halfway down the path, Aiden stopped. He looked at her for a long moment. Hana, he said softly, you changed my life. She smiled and shook her head. No, she replied, you changed your life. I only lent you a book. Aiden took a breath, then reached into his pocket and knelt down. He opened a small box. Marry me. Hana froze, then laughed through tears. Seriously? Seriously, he said, but not because I need you, not because I'm incomplete without you. He looked up at her. I choose you. Every day, and I want to keep choosing you. Hana covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Yes, she said, 1,000 times yes. What most people never understand about Dokudo is this. Musashi wrote it knowing he was about to die, and he was at peace, not because he had nothing, but because he had no regrets. He wasn't attached to approval. He wasn't attached to legacy. He wasn't even attached to life itself. He had lived truthfully. Most people live in fear of losing, so they never truly live. They cling. They hold on too tightly, and in doing so, they lose everything that matters. If you knew you had 1 week left, what would you let go of today? Which relationship would you finally walk away from? Which truth would you stop hiding? Which life would you stop postponing? Because deep down, you already know. Attachment keeps people stuck to comfort, to approval, to safety, and then life passes. Aiden married Hana 2 years later. The ceremony was simple: family, close friends. Akira and Sakura sat in the front row, smiling. During his vows, Aiden said something that left the room silent. "I promise to love you," he said, "but I don't promise to complete you. I don't need you to be whole and you don't need me. We choose each other, and that choice is stronger than any need." Some found it strange. Others understood immediately. That was real love. Love without chains. Love that frees, not imprisons. Today, Aiden runs a stable business. He supports his parents. He lives a life he chose, not one chosen for him. And it all began with a forgotten book in a quiet library. A book that taught him the hardest rule of all: live without attachment. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough not to lose yourself. Before the story ends, there is one last thing to confront. Not Aiden, not Hana, not even the book. You. The rule that changed Aiden's life was never meant to stay on paper. It was never meant to inspire admiration. It was meant to expose something uncomfortable, because attachment doesn't announce itself loudly. It hides behind responsibility, behind kindness, behind loyalty, behind the desire to be a good person. And slowly, it turns into a cage. So here is the question, the same one hidden inside Dokudo. What are you clinging to? Whose approval are you still chasing? Which relationship are you afraid to walk away from? What version of yourself are you protecting, even though it's not who you really are? Most people already know the answers. They've always known, but attachment keeps them from acting. Attachment to security, attachment to comfort, attachment to not being alone. And then time passes, life passes, and what's left isn't peace, it's regret. Aiden didn't escape life. He didn't abandon love. He didn't reject people. He stopped living in fear, and that made all the difference. So if this story made something click inside you, if it named a feeling you've been avoiding, if it felt uncomfortably familiar, write in the comments, "I'm ready to let go," because the first step toward freedom is admitting that you're stuck. Thank you for staying until the end. Reflect on what you've heard, and when you're ready, I'll see you in the next video.